Hey there, everyone. Jim here with Fantasy for the Ages, coming at you with a Book Blast episode today. Before I let any more time pass, I have to talk about Book 4 of Malazan, Book of the Fallen, House of Chains. Amazing book. I'm going to share my thoughts. This will be spoiler light as usual, so it's okay if you haven't read it yet. And if you have, well, see if you enjoy what I think. Either way, if you enjoy the episode, don't forget to like it down below, and we hope you'll subscribe to our channel. Leave comments down in the comment box. We always respond, and look in the show notes for the other ways you can interact with us. Discord, social media, even email, and we have a Patreon. Thank you, Patreon supporters. So this is the show where Zach and I like to talk about the things we're reading. Zach has begun Malazan Book of the Fallen, but he's still on book 1. I've finished book 4, and I am just loving this ride. My Malazan journey will definitely continue after book 4. So far, I have found each book to be distinctly different in pacing, in tone, in narrative structure. House of Chains, it's no exception here. As the title suggests, this brings us another step in the uber narrative of Malazan, as the crippled god seeks to become an active player in the world through leading a new or returning house amongst the pantheon of gods. Yet the story begins with a focus for the first portion entirely on the story of one character whom initially seems entirely new to us, and content that seems completely disconnected from anything that we've read so far. This narrative is engaging in its own way. I was totally sucked in. But then that story seemingly ends, and suddenly we're basically back to the story we were already experiencing in Malazan, returning to the setting of Dead House Gates, Book 2, and continuing the plot further on that continent, the aftermath of what we saw in that book. And wow, that was something. And yet, Erikson eventually merges the first isolated story into this larger narrative. And when he does, I was like, whoa, that's awesome. And really, I want to tell you all about that, but I can't, as this is spoiler light content. You'll have to wait for me to do a full rapid review episode on this book before I could spill the beans. Just trust me here. The story is brilliant in its own way, and I loved it. I do want to comment on one extra point. Listening to those who have previously read all of Malazan Book of the Fallen, apparently House of Chains is, well, commonly the least favorite book of the core 10 novels, at least the bottom 2. We love what we love, but I must not be like most people. I thought this was a wonderful story. I really enjoyed it. And I struggle to understand how people could think so poorly of it. I guess the ending really let some people down. Yet that was probably my favorite part of the story. No, there was no probably. It was my favorite part. My takeaway from this is that I'm probably going to have my mind blown by the rest of Malazan, because if I loved the worst book of the set, I mean, come on. Good things are headed my way, clearly. All right, well, that's all I have for you here today. I'll get that rapid review out as I can. I'm on a little pause again because Malazan books are so huge and there's so much else to read in the world. But I'll move on to book 5, not too far down the road. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.